Hello and welcome to WVU Medicine Golisano Children's Chats. I'm your host, Catherine Vey. WVU Medicine Golisano Children's got some exciting news recently as it was named the top hospital in West Virginia by U.S. News and World Report. Now, in addition to that, two of our specialties were also named within the top 50 across the country. One of those was behavioral health. Joining me now to talk about that is Dr. Kari Law. She is the Vice Chair of Clinical Services for the Department of Behavioral Medicine and Psychiatry and also the Chief of Staff for West Virginia University Hospitals. Dr. Law, welcome.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It's wonderful to be here.
So a lot of exciting news happening. Not only are we the top hospital in West Virginia, but it was a big first for our behavioral health program. What does that mean? And what does that say about us here at WVU Medicine Golisano Children's to be in the top 50?
So it is, you're right, it is amazingly exciting for us. I think it really shows to us not only are we now receiving national recognition for our pediatric behavioral health services, but it also highlights the comprehensive care that we provide for our children. It really allows us to demonstrate on a much larger scale that the quality of care for mental health at West Virginia University Medicine Children's Golisano is top tier.
And it shows, too, to our patients just how much effort we've been putting into mental health, behavioral health, everything that goes along with that, because that way families know when they come here, you're really getting the best.
It is. And I think that it highlights the multidisciplinary teams, the fact that we take the whole child and their family into account when we're both evaluating and providing services. It's wonderful to know that our children and families don't have to leave the state in order to find high quality mental health care.
And I feel like mental health recently, I say recently within the last several years, it feels like since the COVID-19 pandemic, it's really become a topic of conversation. And I feel like you hear about it a lot in adults, but the mental health of our children is just as important. So we need to start having those conversations, like kids' mental health matters too, right?
It's absolutely true. You know, I'm so glad that we're beginning to have the conversations that children, that families, that providers are now highlighting and focusing on screening for and having open conversations about mental health. It's really important, just as we talk about physical health, that we talk about mental health. They're intertwined in a child's development.
And mom to mom here, you know, you're a mom as well. This is important for our kids. As parents, you want to do everything you can to help your kid grow and thrive. And that's not just, you know, physically thrive, that's mentally thrive too.
Absolutely. So not only am I a child and adolescent psychiatrist, but you're right, I'm a mom. And so I think it's so important for us to begin to think about our children's mental health from the very beginning. It's not just when a problem develops. It's not just when they get diagnosed with something that we have to think about it. It really starts with building connections, having conversations, and being present from the very beginning. When your infant's crying, you pick them up, you console them, you let them know that you're reliable, that you're here, that you're present for them. When your toddlers are upset, you're letting them know that they have feelings. You're naming those feelings. You're helping them to understand what's going on for them. And as our children grow, our role with them evolves. We can't solve every problem for them, but we can certainly help them know that we are here with them. We will be reliable, and we can help them develop their own resilience and problem solving. So you're 100% correct.
What we wouldn't give to follow them to school every day, right? And be able to solve the problem and talk them through every situation and scenarios with friends and teachers and everything that goes on socially. But that's why the Mental Health Foundation is so important. We have to give them those tools, right, before we let them out into the big world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing I think that's so important for families and parents to realize is that none of us are perfect. We are all human. And as a mom, we think back and wonder every day, did Did I do what was right?
Yes.
Was that the best choice that I could have made? Did I say that the right way? And honestly, I look at children's mental health as a parent as developing those connections. It isn't about perfection. It's about them knowing that you're here and having you help guide them through it, whether it's at home, at school, or throughout life.
I feel like every parent has had that moment. You just touched on it for me, where you sit in bed at night and, you replay your day and the things that went on with your kids. And you say, did I do enough today? Did I foster them in the right direction? I mean, those thoughts never stops. And it's so hard. It's so hard to see if you did, because it's not, especially with mental health, it's not like, okay, I did the right thing for them today, because mental health, I feel like, is evolving, and it's not something like, okay, like I did the right thing today, tomorrow is going to be good too. It's like, it's not a one thing. It's all the things we do for our kids, right, that make their mental health.
You're so right. I mean, I think that parents really have huge power. And I think that's so important to know, because, again, it feels very powerless when your child is going through something at school or in their life. But really, every day is an opportunity to build that muscle. So I sort of look at mental health and wellness as an ongoing building blocks. You don't wake up, even though Halloween just passed, and I think my child would love to strap on that costume and be kind of this big muscular superhero. You don't wake up a bodybuilder. It's something that you work on every single day. It's a muscle that you continually work. And emotional health is the exact same way. So we work with them on building their emotional skills, their emotional muscles every day. I think that even as a parent, if you just show up for your kid and help them to name their emotions, you normalize that they have feelings. They shouldn't feel guilty or ashamed of having big feelings or emotions. That's completely normal. It's what we do with them. I always tell my kids, it's okay to be mad. You just can't be mean. So we have to both explain to them or model for them, I see that you're upset because, and then help them know what to do with it. And that starts with us as parents. Talk about pressure, but we don't have to be perfect. We have every single day that we can model for them what we do when we're upset. They watch us all the time to see how we are responding to situations, showing them that we can take a deep breath, that we can take a walk, that we can circle back and talk about things, or even go back with them if we were upset and say, hey, I didn't handle that the way I wanted to. I wish I'd done it differently. That's so powerful as a parent. As I said before, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to show them how to recover and how to be calm. So.
And it's so hard because nobody's perfect. Parents aren't perfect. I have moments where, you had a bad day at work and you come home and, your kid is having big feelings and then you have big feelings back. I mean, I have a 5-year-old, so we're in our big feelings era at my house, trying to figure it all out. But it's so hard to be perfect all the time. But I think just taking that moment, there's something so powerful in that, not only for your kids, taking that moment and say, okay, why do we feel that way? But we can do that as adults too. Like, if we're feeling a certain way, let's just take a second and pause and say, why are we feeling that way? It's okay for us to check our emotions too. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think some of the biggest things, parents will ask me, well, what should I not do? What do I not need to do? And really the piece of the few things that I think are really critical every day is just, if your child is coming to you with feelings, you're their safe space. And so accepting them with their feelings, not minimizing them, not dismissing them. Maybe don't say to them, you're fine, or you'll be all right. Honor what they're coming to you with. Now that's hard when we ourselves, as you said, are having our own big feelings, our own hard day, but being able to meet them where they are and having them know that you're their safe space, that you're going to be there and you're going to listen when they're talking with you about something, whether it's that someone was unkind to them at the lunch table or whether it's that they're having really dark, unsafe thoughts that maybe they don't want to be alive. Those are all building blocks that's so important to provide for them.
And an emotion is so much different than like your child falls and, maybe got a little cut or scrape. Like my kid falls, I feel like all the time. He's a very rough and tumble little guy, but I'm guilty of, oh, you're fine, but it's a scrape on the knee. You can't do that with mental health because they're just going to keep repressing that and it's going to catch up with them eventually, right? Like we have to talk about things.
Right. And I think sometimes it's important to meet them where they are. So again, having, just in general, if we step back, having predictability and reliability for our kids is what's important. They don't have to analyze every single moment of their day. But if they know that you're there and you're supportive, even if that means that sometimes you have to say hard things, right? Our goal as parents is not to always make our kids happy. It's to be there to provide structure, consistency, and at times accountability, but also the ability to share with us how they're feeling in a safe way. So if a child comes to me, and if my child comes to me and says, Mom, I had the worst day, and Bobby was mean to me on the playground, and it made me sad. And then the teacher yelled at me, and I wanted to cry. And then I got in trouble. The response back is important. It's important to put our devices down, to have a connection with your child, even if it's not lengthy, and ask them to tell you more, right? Do you want to talk about that? Sounds like you were really upset. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? We don't have to solve it for them. We just have to be there for them.
It's sort of that something with mental health that has always stuck in my mind is I had somebody say to me once, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. So I feel like, is it okay for us to tell our kids like, hey, it's okay to have a bad day. It's fine. Your feelings are valid. Tomorrow will be better. Like how do we reassure them like it's okay that you had a bad day? It's fine. Not every day is going to be great. How do we reassure them that like it's okay, but we have to build to be better?
Absolutely. I think this is such an important piece. It's never too early to start talking with our kids, and so I always look at mental health and well-being and resilience much like I look at physical health. If your child was sick one day, they had a bellyache, they didn't want to go to school, they have a headache, we ask them how they're doing. We give them a hug, we're tender with them, we nurture them, and then we help them to continue going. And mental health and physical health are, as I said before, very intertwined. So I would say the same thing to them. It is okay to be whatever, angry, sad, disappointed, happy, excited. All of those things are good. And what are we going to do with that? How do we channel those feelings? What do we do with them? And then how do we keep going?
Our kids are, I think about my own experiences, and I'm sure a lot of parents have experienced this, where they're usually only coming to you when something is terrible. Like, oh, I had the worst day, or this happened, or somebody yelled at me. But should we be encouraging them to come to us with the good things too? Like, that's an important part of balance. Isn't like we should be talking about the good things too, so we can properly be celebrating those happy moments, the moments of joy, things where they did something really kind. Like, how do we as parents make sure that we're putting an equal emphasis on our kids coming to talk to us about the good, not just the bad?
Absolutely. So I think as a parent, for lack of sounding like a broken record, some of the biggest pieces of helping to support your child is simply being present. So that's present when things are going well. That's present when things are not going well. So truly, something that's important for your child is so important to celebrate. They're celebrating the fact that you came for their classroom party. They're celebrating that their basketball team won a game. They are going to have really big emotions and excitement about that. And it's so important to join with them in that. Because again, for them, you're safe no matter what emotion they're having. So I absolutely agree with you that it's so important for us to be present with them, both on the good days and the bad days.
And it's not a broken record, because we need reminders too to be present. Life is so chaotic for parents. You got to rush, get them to school on time, after school activities, sports, dance, whatever. You have things with work and with other family commitments. There's never a broken record to remind parents to like take a minute and be present, because that's important for our health too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So mental health is so broad. We talk about it. There's, I feel like, a million things that could fall under mental health. When we talk about kids, what are the most common things that they're struggling with? Is it could differ, I know it could differ by age, things like that, but what are the most common things that you see that kids are struggling with?
Yeah, so I think that you're 100% right. There are different ways that our children are going to kind of show us their struggles. They're going to show us their kind of where they're at with their mental health. You know, I think that you think about where a child is for most of their day, and how they spend their day. So when I walk through a child's day with them, they're having to navigate relationships. They're having to navigate stressors with other children or with academics, with sports, after school, with homework, with siblings, with their home lives. And so there are so many variables and opportunities for them to either excel or to have an opportunity to learn how to navigate something that's stressful for them. So equally, all of those are areas where we see children coming to us or to their parents saying, hey, I need help. But I think one thing that's important for parents to know is that when kids are beginning to struggle with their emotions or with how they're feeling, they may not be able to put it into words right away. They can tell you or me that my belly hurts or my head hurts, but telling me I'm sad, I'm nervous, I'm scared, that's an entirely different set of skills. So I think for parents, we really think about how this is going to show up potentially even physically or behaviorally long before they're using the words. And so the things that I would always want for a parent to watch out for, if you notice that your child is having really sudden mood swings that aren't typical for them, that's something to pay attention to. If they're having changes in their routines or their sleep, they're not sleeping well, or they're wanting to sleep a lot more, they're not eating the same way that they used to, they are withdrawing from activities that they loved or from their friends, or even if they are kind of making statements to you about not wanting to be around, feeling like things can never get better, or even being more defiant. Those are all things that make me say, you know, this is something, trust your gut as a parent. This is something you should talk with your doctor about. Because
we always say, like, parents, we know our kids the best. I mean, you know, they may be at school for a large portion of the day, but we're with them from the time they're born. So we know what they like and how they eat and what their favorite foods are and things like that. So I think that's powerful, you saying to parents, like, trust your gut. It's okay to ask for help, even if as a parent, I go to my child's provider and say, hey, I think something's wrong. And then maybe turns out everything's okay, but at least you sought help, right?
Absolutely. And I think that those are discussions that are so important to be had, even before it's a crisis. Noticing that your child isn't acting like your child is a clue. And as a mom, a dad, or a parent, we follow that clue. So it's so important. And I think your first resource, if you aren't already seeing a therapist, a counselor, or a psychiatrist, is to reach out to your pediatrician or your primary care provider and just ask them to talk. Let them know you're seeing something that isn't like your child.
So I was going to ask, when as a parent, if we notice this, when do we go to our child's provider? But you said don't wait. Essentially, don't wait until it's a crisis, because you don't want it to get too far down the road. It's better to catch it early.
It absolutely is. So, I think that in this day and age, it is normal to have stress. It's normal to have, as you said, the big feelings. But when you're consistently noticing that with your child, ask for help. There may be nothing more than a temporary stressor or a bump in the road, but it's important to ask. And I think at WVU Medicine Golisano Children's Hospital, we are really able to meet our children's needs in a variety of different ways. So certainly there are the acute resources, whether in the emergency department or on inpatient services, both from physical health as well as a mental health side of things. We also have outpatient resources, both in therapy services, medication management, that work to help the whole family, both the child and their parents. But I think that really their primary care provider is going to be one that the child trusts and knows. They've known them usually since they've been born. And so it's important to feel comfortable to talk about that.
Is it possible, too, that no matter how much parents try to foster that environment of open conversation and come to me with anything, that maybe kids, especially maybe teenagers, are too scared to tell their parents certain things, and then they go to a provider and they just open up? Like, is that possible? They're even still scared to talk to mom and dad no matter what we do?
Oh, 100%. We're going through that right now. And as a mom of a teenager, it always amazes me what comes out where. And really what's most important to me is that my child has someone that they feel comfortable to talk with. And so in those situations, it could be a counselor at school. It could be their pediatrician or primary care provider, or it could be a trusted friend or a community member. The piece that I want to make sure of is that our kids know that if it isn't mom and dad, it's someone that they trust, that they can talk to, that they can open up with, and that they can ultimately seek some help.
I mean, we talked about all the stressors for kids, but teenagers, it could be a whole other world, because you think it's not just classes and sports, depending on how old they are. It's college applications or what they're going to do after high school graduation, or there's, pressures coming from social media, the things they see on TV. I mean, it's really a vast kind of pool of outside influence, which is, scary. We talked about earlier, you just want to keep them with you and be with be a little fly on the wall all day to help them navigate. But it's scary to think about sometimes as a parent. Like, kids are seeing a lot and hearing a lot, and that's why the foundation's so important.
It really is. And I think that being a teenager and a young adult, that's a whole different battle, both as a...
That's a whole other podcast.
It is. But I will say this, you're right. We can't always keep them kind of nestled to us and tucked in. But the foundation is important. And again, the consistency and the predictability of being there. So as they begin to navigate their own independence, that they may push us away, they may roll their eyes, they may do all of those things. And that's both to parents as well as to providers. But the important piece is that's a normal part of their development as they're trying to figure out how to not need mom and dad as much and how to be able to be independent, which is what we want. But boy, is that a hard job. And so not taking it personally, helping them to navigate that, whether it's social media in appropriate amounts, whether it's navigating getting appropriate amounts of sleep, or really, really hard conversations. It's important for you to be there and just not take it personally.
We'll have to do part two on the teenage mental health. But for parents who are listening at home, they're thinking, hey, I want more information. Where do I go? What are some good resources that they can find and just have handy in case they need them?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of really great resources online. WVU Medicine Golisano Children's has partnered with the Cook Center and provides an amazing online resource. So the website is parentguidance.org, and they have a lot of brief videos and informational items about all kinds of different pediatric, adolescent, and young adult mental health topics, which I think is really amazing as a parent to find. They're easy to read, easy to use, and very, very applicable. I think there are also other resources as well, whether it is SAMHSA's resources or even on our website. We have access to many resources that are helpful. And finally, I think it's always okay to ask your provider, help me understand this. As a parent, we're often learning right alongside. And that's what we're here for, is to be able to help normalize, to help talk through those different seasons, some of which will be good and some of which may not be.
Well, Dr. Law, thank you for being here and for letting us parents know, we're not alone. Every parent's navigating the big feelings and all the stages of their child's mental health. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Catherine, for having me.
And if you want to learn more about WVU Medicine Golisano Children's or about any of the resources that we talked about here, you can head to our website, wvukids.com. I'm your host, Catherine Vey, and we'll see you next time.